Buckle up, sports fanatics. This is the Sports Chasers Podcast, your HQ for in-depth sports talk. Join host Kevin L. Warren and crew as they dissect the hottest stories, ignite debates, and bring you closer to the action. From locker room whispers to expert takes, we cover it all. It's game time, so strap in and grab a drink. The Sports Chasers Podcast starts right now.
Hey, good evening, everybody. What's happening, everybody? It's another edition of the Sports Chasers, man, coming to you. We're not live and direct, man, but this is actually taped on the Monday evening. We're glad that everybody's doing good out here in the media landscape, man, of sports, man. But make sure, before we start anything, make sure you like, click, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the bells for all the notifications. And those that are listening under the sound of my voice, I know what it is. Give me that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star review, 5-star review. Lovers or haters. Let us know how we're doing, as you so eloquently do every week that we post content. Good, bad, or ugly. Y'all guys definitely bring it. We appreciate y'all for that, man. Today we have a special treat to you. A really, really great guest. Information. Y'all going to get a lot of information, and it's going to be some really great information. I'm really eager to talk to our guest tonight, this evening or afternoon. But I'm really eager, and let me just not delay it anymore. Let's introduce her. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sports Chasers Nation, to the interview sessions here. Today, we're switching gears from the field to the future. We're honored to welcome a powerhouse change maker who's making waves in education and empowering the next generation for success. Our guest is no other than Shellee Howard. She's the founder and CEO of College Ready and CR Future Now, certified independent college strategist, two-time best-selling author, international speaker, and the brilliant mind behind the proven systems that help students land their best fit for schools and often best fit schools, often debt-free. As a mother of 4 and a woman whose own children have walked through Ivy League doors and graduated debt-free, Shellee brings real-life experience, proven strategies, and no-nonsense guidance to what she does. Whether you're a high schooler, a parent, or a mentor, get ready. We're about to unpack the playbook on how to turn dreams into accepted letters and accepted letters into debt-free degrees. Man, I wish I had Shellee around. Shellee, welcome to the Sports Chasers. We're glad to have you here. Let me give you a round of applause for Miss Shellee Howard. Welcome.
Outstanding.
I'm glad you. How are you today, Shellee? How's everything with you?
I'm fantastic. I cannot wait to share with your listeners some really important information that's happening right now for middle school, high schoolers, and college students.
So those women would like to know why do we have somebody like Shellee on there? Because she's also going to come at the angle as for the student athlete as well. And like I said, as I said in the introduction, I wish I had a Shellee Howard around some 20-something years ago. I wouldn't be probably still paying over a student loan. So I'm almost finished though. But with that said, Shellee, let's just jump on right into how did you get into this? What made you get this passion for what you do?
So like you, I wish I knew somebody like me when I was going through it. Let's just be real. And I didn't do it well. I did it the best of my ability, but I was the first generation to go to college. So neither of my parents had gone. And I remember sitting them down and asking them, hey, what do you think about this college thing? That was my senior year. We'd never talked about it. One parent said yes. The other parent said, no, go get a job. And then I was really confused because I was a scholar athlete. I had actually played softball for the USA softball team and had traveled to Hong Kong and China. And I really thought that that was how I was going to get to college. Unfortunately, softball is not a money generating sport. And so there was not a lot of money available for a full ride at that time. And so we had some mixed feelings in my house. And long story short, I applied to 2 schools. My dad made it real easy. He told me I could bring my car to one of them. And so off I went. But that was my story. I changed my major 5 times. I really didn't do it the easy way. And I knew when it came time for my children to go through the process that I was going to do it much better than it had been done for me. And that's how College Ready got started, is just a mother's desire to help her own children navigate this path. I had 2 of my 4 were scholar athletes as well. So I've had to navigate it a few different ways.
Well, you just bumped onto my next question. You've helped students around the world from Ivy League hopefuls to, how do you get the best fit for that person, for that athlete, for that student athlete or student?
Yeah. So we approach it in actually 4 different ways. We look for the academic fit. In other words, will the student be setting the curve for the grade? Will they be struggling to keep up, right? Which of those is going to be the best fit for them? Then we looked at the social fit. So in other words, will their people be there so they feel supported and nurtured and cared for? Then we look at the athletic fit. Are they a D1, D2, D3, intramural? What does that look like? Will they walk on? Will they be recruited? And then we look at the financial fit. If they get to play their sport, but they don't get any money, what does that look like? Will they have to take loans? Will they get a merit scholarship? Will they get independent scholarships? So it's a lot of moving pieces to find the perfect fit school. And that's an important piece that many of my scholar athletes don't really understand, because not every student, no matter how good they are, gets a full ride athletic scholarship to college.
Well, yeah, that's correct. Sometimes you hear through the grapevine, so to speak, or you hear on television, and how some guys do get, or guys or ladies get full ride scholarships, but more often than not, and you probably would agree that doesn't happen. And like you said, you have to probably get creative with things such as scholarships and things of that nature. Tell me about scholarships. Let's dive into scholarships real quick.
Sure. The big topic.
Big topic with this. Again, how do you go about fitting that student with the scholarship? There's so many scholarships. So my niece, she's in the process of right now and I told her, I said, there's a scholarship for every and anything. For if your dad works at a certain place and things of that nature. Expound on that.
Sure. So there's 4 buckets of money. Last year, I had 29 students earn over $10.3 million in scholarships. So there is so much money out there. But the problem is students and parents wait way too long. You can start applying for scholarships in 8th grade. Most people are shocked when I tell them that. The other thing is you want to look at, there's merit-based scholarships, there's need-based scholarships, there's independent-based scholarships. And so you want to be, and then there's athletic scholarships. So like there's all this money, but everybody's like, well, where do I get the money? The money does not come chasing after you. I can promise you that. They have a $10,000 scholarship right now if you're a vegan. I could be a vegan for 10 grand, just saying. So it really comes down to the student knowing who they are, what matters to them, and what have they done about it. Because that's what scholarships are based on. If they have high academic grades, they should get a merit scholarship. If they are in financial need or destitute, they may get a need-based scholarship. If they don't get those 2, if they are all state, all league, so-and-so for their sport, the chances are they can get a D1 scholarship. And then there's the independent scholarships. Those would be the ones you apply to. It may be the Coca-Cola scholarship. It may be a leadership scholarship. It may be Rotary. It may be at your school PTA. Like there's a ton of different tiers of them. Some give huge money. My son got a full ride, the presidential scholarship at USC. That's the highest level. They gave one of those out, and then Harvard matched it. Wow. So everybody says, well, you can't get a scholarship at Harvard. Well, they don't give merit money. That's what they say, but they do negotiate And if you can get into Harvard, they will make sure that you can afford to get in and out. It's, can you get in? And are you the type of student they're willing to throw money at? Think about it like professional sports. You can't be a bench warmer and expect the millions of dollars. You got to be the one, and the one making the impact, making the goals, making the touchdowns, whatever that is,
Right.
to receive the big dollars. Scholarships the same way. It's not just free for doing nothing.
And you're right, because some people think that, hey, I just applied for the scholarship, they're just gonna give it to me because I'm pretty or I'm handsome. Nope.
Nope.
You got to add some value to that university or that college in order for them to, to do that. So man, this is just so much. Let's talk about NIL. So the rise of NIL. What should the student do in this NIL era to prepare themselves academically and personally to take advantage of some of these opportunities?
I was just speaking to a colleague today about that. And here's the thing. College sports is what professionals used to have to do. High school sports is what college athletes had to do. Elementary is what, you know what I mean? It just trickles down. And so if you think that you can do a certain level and then expect higher, that's not going to happen. But you also have to be very cautious because not every child is meant to be a paid athlete. No offense to anybody, but I too believe all 4 of my kids are amazing and that all 4 of them were just so spectacular. But guess what? I did recognize there were other kids on the field that maybe were a little more gifted, maybe a little bit more strategic, maybe a little bit more aggressive. And it's okay that they're not going to be a paid athlete. They may go and get a full ride merit scholarship like all of my children did and still get money and not get hurt or use their brains and not their brawn. It's all going to work out just fine.
I had and hopefully he's watching. I had a coworker of mine, this is several years ago. He said some other guy was making fun of him. He didn't play for a D1 school. He played for a D2 school. And he said, "Oh, you play for a D2 school." And so my guy that worked with me, he said something back to this. He said something like, "Yeah, I played for a D2 school, but you know what? I had enough value that they paid for my whole 4 years of school, and I don't have any student loan debt, and I bet you do." I say, "Ooh."
There's definitely an ouch factor there. Yes.
Yeah, I said, shout out to Derek if you're watching, Derek. I was like, wow, he makes a lot of sense, and that's what you want to do. You want to come out of college if you can, with not paying the whole bill. As we know, college has absolutely within the last couple of years university has went up in money and stuff like that. Your thoughts on that, just real quick, and
yeah. So I like to let families know that college has always been expensive.
right.
It's just now it's more competitive on top of being expensive. Back in the day, a couple of generations ago, they were fortunate if they got to go to college because they were considered elitist, that they could afford not to have to work.
Yes.
Right? Then you had the generation that is just get a degree no matter what, even if you have to take on debt, even if you don't know your major, just go get a degree. And that had problems because people were graduating with massive loans and they weren't using their degree. Now we're of a generation that's, well, I need a degree to be competitive, but I don't want to waste my time and my money. So I need to know what I want to do before I apply to college. And it's going to be a lot less expensive if I don't have to change my major, if I don't have to transfer schools, if I could get a merit and an athletic scholarship combined to drive down the cost. Remember, there are thousands of colleges out there. If you find the right fit school, the school that really thinks that you're going to come and make their school better, they're going to throw money at you. If it's a dream school, a reach, your GPA is not high enough, your test score is not high enough, your leadership's not enough, your community service is not enough, guess what? You're going to be lucky if they say yes. They may need your position on the team, but they're not going to throw money at you because there's somebody else they want more. And that's not to be hurtful. It just is. It just is. Not everybody can have the trophy.
It's the truth. And we talk the truth on here, Shellee. And yes, speak the truth. I'm cool with it because people need to know, kids need to know, children need to know. Hey, you got to be competitive. You just ain't going to get the goods or the money just because you're here or you have arrived. And like you said, it's so competitive now. And yeah, you got to put your due diligence behind it. So
yeah. For my scholar athletes or students that come to me, families that come to me, and they are looking for a full ride, I often tell them this fact that 2 to 3% of students get a full ride. 2 to 3% of all of the seniors who are graduating. And then the parent goes on to tell me how amazing their child is. And so I ask a few questions. Are they playing varsity? Well, yes. Have they played all 4 years? Well, no. Have they been all league? Well, no. Have they been all state? Well, no. Well, then why do you think they're going to get a full ride D1 athletic scholarship? Well, they're the best at their school. And that's what I like scholar athletes to understand is just because they're the best at their school, that doesn't make them the best athlete at the college, because the colleges are pulling from all of the schools. So in a way of inspiration, I tell my students, I say, let's look at the college stats of the tight end, or let's look at the pitcher or whatever. And let's look at those stats. When you hit those stats, now you're going to get some money at that school.
Gotcha. That does make sense. Have you ever had parents? I know you probably have, because somebody that's so disillusioned, like, just share that, because I know you probably get a lot of disillusioned parents. Oh, my little Joey, he's the best at everything, but no, Joey's not really good. He probably could get a scholarship playing an instrument or whatever. Go ahead, Ms. Shellee.
Yeah. So I think what's really important is to think of this. Scholar athletes or athletes, they can only have so many catchers on the baseball team. Correct. They can only have so many, golfers on the golf team. And so it's by that pure, they can only have so many. It's not an unlimited amount. That makes for competition. So on top of it, each athletic team has a certain GPA that they must keep. Okay. If they go below that, they are going to get in trouble with the university, in trouble with sanctions, a lot of problems. So if you have a intelligent athlete, you raise the GPA. You are more valuable than the student who is barely making C's. They may be incredibly talented, but they are a risk factor to that fact that every school has to have a certain GPA for that team. So it behooves you to bring up the GPA. So now you have 2 of the competitive factors, not just the skill, because one injury can ruin the skill, where the academic will carry with that student for the rest of their life. So a good scholar athlete has both the academia and the gift of talent.
Well, so hey, I always tell our audience here, just remember, you still have to get good grades. Good grades matter. And, sometimes, we heard in the past of college scandals where, somebody was taking classes for this student athlete, and, the things happens, and those are the scandals of the past. But, Ms. Shellee is telling you today, if you want to be a really good at student athlete, you have to do the work. You have to go do the academics. There's no getting around it. There's no skating around it. Study. be a good student, because that'll last you for the rest of your life, as you just said. It just makes sense. So, let me just get to this one right here. What are the most common mistakes families are making when they're trying to avoid the trap of student loan debt, even when pursuing the sports career?
So 9 out of 10 times it's they don't plan. They just put all their eggs in one basket. It happens with scholar athlete or athletes all the time. You could be the most amazing point guard and you're putting all of your energy behind that, all of your private coaching, all of your time, and unfortunately, the school of your dreams doesn't need that position. They already have somebody in that position. Has nothing to do with how amazing your child is. It's that you put them in such a small pigeonhole that it becomes a problem. So what I tell families is this: start helping your child understand a few things. One, financial literacy. In other words, how much does college cost and what is the return on that investment? If they want to go to university and be a botanist, somebody who plants plants for a living, no shame at all. But do they need to go to NYU, New York University, at $95,000 a year to do that? They do not. Yes, the student may want to live in New York. Yes, that may be a really cool school, but it is not a return on that investment. The same thing goes for athletics. My daughter, her dream school was University of Alabama. This is back in 2016. That's peak of Alabama's greatness.
Yes.
And when we went and toured the school, like I was like roll tide and I didn't even know what we were talking about, but it was amazing the energy that was behind that football team. And when I asked her, why do you want to go to Alabama? She goes, Mom, the football. I said, are you going to play football? And she's like, that's just stupid. And I'm like, well, why are you going there? She goes, I want to go to the football games. I want the high energy. I want the Friday night lights. I want all of that. And I'm like, but aren't we supposed to be going to college to get a degree? And she goes, oh yeah. And they have the #1 nursing program as well. Right? It was the, oh yeah, that I tell parents, be careful that they don't have it flipped around, that they're going to get the education to help them in life. College is not the end game. It's the stepping stone to get to adulthood.
Yes.
Right? And if you really want to be prepared for adulthood, is it going to be the right degree in 4 years, not 5, 6, 7, or 8 to get a 4-year degree? Is it going to be somewhere that they are going to be intellectually challenged, but yet do well? Are they going to meet their future best friends, significant others? These are all things that we want to be helping our child think of when we talk about college, not just the location of the campus or the stats of a sports team, but it's why are we going to college is to set them up for a better life in their future. That's the missing piece, and that's why people are going into debt.
You just talked about it, return on investment. I watched, and just two things. You said something about money, letting kids learn about money very early in life, and not, shirking that responsibility to nobody. Yeah, the schools might not teach it. You teach it to your children. You teach them what it is to invest, to save, insurance, and all that. I'm all about that, because I wish that would have been imparted to me earlier. But with that said, you have to be financially literate. That's one. And I like that you said that about your but two, you also have to, you can't go to, like I was just telling my niece, I said, you got to really research what you want to do and make sure you go get a degree that's going to coincide with you getting some money, getting paid, that you enjoy, right? Those two got to line up, but you have to have a return on your investment, man. So you can't, I don't want to just poo-poo on somebody's degree, but there's degrees out there they're not worth the paper that it's sold on, unfortunately, and that's it. How do you feel about community college? How do you feel? let me just back it up. How do you feel about community college? Have you ever told any of your clients like, hey, maybe you might need to just, in order to get this thing going, go to community college for the 2 years?
There's a lot of opportunity for these students. Community college is one of them. There's trade schools. There are gap years. That there's study abroad. There's so many things this generation has opportunity. So I address all of them with each student because what is their goal? If their goal is to get in and out of college in 4 years and they can't wait to make money, then we need to get them straight into a 4-year college. If they're a little squirrely, a little immature, and don't have a clue what they want to do, maybe they need a little bit more time at home, a little bit slower pace to kind of jump into it. Maybe they're an athlete who wants to play a little bit more, but they're not at the 4-year collegiate level. And so they just want a little bit more play time before they have to hang up the cleats. So it's not really one's better than another, but I do like to educate families on something that they don't often tell you. And that is in large metropolitan areas such as California, New York, Florida, these schools are so overcrowded that at the community college, you cannot get your classes. It's taking students anywhere from 4 to 6 years to get a 2-year degree because these students cannot get their classes because the state schools, California State, New York State, Florida State, are so overcrowded that those students are motivated. So they're coming down, swooping the community college classes that are cheaper and taking those because they can't get them at their state schools because the state school's so overcrowded. And their parents are saying, you need to get out in 4 years because we're paying for this degree. And so now there's this brutal conflict because you have these kids from state school who are coming in motivated to take as many of these cheap classes at the community college. And so the kids who are maybe not as motivated are going to be like, well, I couldn't get in. So I guess I'll have to take off a semester and get a job. And then when they get a job, you know what happens? They make money. And when you make money, you don't want to go back to college. And it's a vicious cycle. So I tell students, one, it's much easier to get in as from high school to college. It is much more difficult to transfer in as a college transfer. So statistically, they have a better chance of going straight in unless they're going to go to community college and really increase their GPA, and then they'll have a better shot. But for a student who worked really, really hard in high school,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have a much harder time getting in from community college.
Wow, I am fascinated by what you just said because I'm a community college prospect, growing up in New York, growing up in Brooklyn, and I went to Borough Manhattan Community College, which is right up the street from the World Trade Center, and I didn't have that problem. Classes were those back then were very prevalent, and now that you're saying most of these metropolitan areas, it's hard to get classes, and you can't finish your degree, 2-year degree in 4 years. Wow.
Yeah.
You better study. That's all I can tell you.
It's just, it's gotten more competitive and more expensive. And that's why, so California is probably the worst of the worst for community college because guess who wants to live here? Everybody.
Right.
I happen to live in Southern California, and this is a place that is not a terrible place to live all year round. And so students will come to California to go to a community college because they're going to college and they want to live in California. Well, that makes our community colleges busting at the seam. And that's what the problem is. Same with Florida, same with a lot of other places. But I don't want to discourage students because if you're a motivated community college candidate and you really do your due diligence about will this class transfer to this school prior to taking it, if you're proactive, you can do it. But there's nobody who's going to hold your hand. There's nobody who's going to talk to your parent. There's nobody helping you at this point. So you are truly on your own and you can do it, but you really have to be proactive.
Wow. Wow. Let me go to my next point. Y'all better listen up, man. Shellee's dropping some gems here, some really good gems here. What can high school athletes do to stand out beyond their sport, especially when coaches in admission want to see character, leadership, and maturity?
Yeah, community service, huge. It's huge. You know what happens when a student does community service? They figure out what they're good at, what they like, what they don't like, who they want to help, who they don't. They learn about compassion, about camaraderie, about inclusion, diversity,
Mm.
equity, collaboration, all these wonderful things we need to adult with. And guess what? You're doing something nice for somebody else. It's a beautiful way for you to test a skill that you may not even know that you have in your resume yet. And also when you talk to coaches and when you talk to admissions people and you share what you've learned about yourself while serving others, guess what it just told the college all they need to know about you? You're the kind of student they want on campus.
Yes.
You're not entitled, you're not selfish, you're not all about, you. And so really diving in, but not just tutoring or feeding the homeless. I have to say this. Now, if you love those things, go do them. But if you're doing them to check a box, stop it. If you are a football player, go and work with young athletes in a lower class neighborhood who can't even afford cleats. Teach them the love of the sport. Teach them the skill of the sport. You
Mm.
never know what will happen to that individual. Be that big brother, that big sister. So really, we call them passion with purpose projects because we want you to lead with your passion and have purpose of why you're doing it. Don't do it because you think colleges want you to do it. Do it because you want to make a greater impact on your world.
And I think also when you do that, when you show possibility to those that don't have hope or possibility as well. I'm glad you highlighted and said that. Yeah, don't check off the box. Go really make an impact. Go
Mhm.
into the neighborhoods, go into low income that doesn't have a chance and teach them how to maybe play the game or whatever you're good at,
Mhm.
Um, I'm down here in South Florida and kind of what you're saying, but shout out to the Florida Panthers, the hockey team. They have really, really done a good job of showing, inner city kids on how to play hockey and now how it's taking off and how they're able to, people now are following. Hockey wasn't a big bet, and you're out there in Southern California. You got the Kings and the Ducks. But down in South Florida, now the Panthers have won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. So a lot of people catching on. But like I said, they did some community service, went into to the neighborhoods that don't really play hockey. So shout out to them. So thank you
Mhm.
for that. I'm glad that you're telling these kids, hey man, y'all, don't check a box, just go do something different, do something impactful, and give somebody some possibility, man. Because possibility is also really a good thing. So,
Mhm.
what do you think about a student athlete building their brand early? Everybody talks about their brand, and I got my brand. What's the right way to do it without distracting from school and the sport that they're playing?
So it's important for the student to first understand why are they branding? Why?
Mm.
Are they branding because it's pride? Are they branding because it's a cool thing? Like if they're doing it to stand out, to get accepted, I would change it from branding to strategy because strategy is what we learn to play in any sport, right? It doesn't matter what sport you're playing, you got to have a strategy to compete. That makes a lot more sense than branding yourself because guess what? If you brand too early and you either get injured or your skills are not as competitive as they once were, your branding's going to be off. So it's like a brand new business. When you brand too early and you grow and you change and you morph, your branding's going to be off and it's going to be really confusing. And admissions will not pick up or a coach will not pick up if they're confused. So we call it having a strategy that can pivot with you. And that's a plan A and a B and a C. Plan A is the dream. Let's go get the dream until somebody tells you that that is no longer possible. And even then, I would still chase the dream, right? And that's plan A in the strategy. Plan B is as you start to grow, I speak sports analogies, and it's like a soccer player. When they're a forward striker and they don't have a left foot, they can only shoot with their right foot. Guess what? They are now at a disadvantage from somebody who can shoot with both feet. So their branding, if they brand themselves as a forward striker, but they can only shoot from one side, now they're branding to off. And now that coach is going to be really confused because maybe they're a center mid. Maybe they're fast, but they're not at the level of a forward striker. So same with each sport. So think about, instead of working on yourself, really work on what are your goals? What do you want? I tell my students who are thinking that they want to be doctors, lawyers, CPAs, I'm like, have you gone on LinkedIn and researched doctors, lawyers, CPAs and followed their path? Same thing for athletes. If your dream is to be, professional A, B, or C, what was their path? How did they get there? Because if you don't know the steps to getting there, how can you brand yourself?
Right.
You can't. You have to have a strategy that's flexible because you're still growing in height, in weight, in skill, in intellect. And so you need to be able to pivot. If you brand too soon, you're going to potentially confuse the buyer.
Yeah. That's a good point. So you better listen. Better brand yourself properly or when it's time to. What do you think about what systems do you think you recommend to those college athletes to excel academically while maintaining, the demanding practice schedule that they have for their sport?
I think it's important to prioritize based on your goals. If your goal is to be a professional baseball player and your skill does not match your goal, or your height, or there's some stuff that like we kind of come with, right? And because I was a catcher for the USA team and I am all of 5'5", and everybody says there's no way, catchers are way bigger, stronger, you're too small, it's not going to happen. Well, that just fueled my fire.
Absolutely.
And that just meant that I had to train harder and longer and better. Well, I ended up with 2 knee surgeries because of how many squats and how many ups and downs I landed on my knees. And that my body had some breakdown because I was trying to compete with some bigger, stronger catchers.
Right.
So that's the first thing you have to really be clear on is are you born with what you're going to need? And you can will it like I did, and you may have some bumps in the road, or you may be, okay, well, maybe that's not my sport. My son played soccer all the way through his whole life, played club, played in Europe, thought he was going to play in college, decided he wasn't tall enough, big enough, fast enough,
Oh.
and rode crew at Harvard, walked on and made the crew team.
Oh.
So
good for him.
Still an athlete. Once you're an athlete and you have the mindset and you know what you need to do, you do still have to listen to the gifts that you've been given, right? Not everybody can receive a football.
No.
Right? And if I try to take a center and make him a receiver, as much as though he wants it, it's not going to be pretty.
No, not at a center. No.
So I think first I like parents and athletes to get really clear. I'm not telling them or squashing their dream, but if the dream is to be a professional, were they born with that? I think Rudy Rudiger, right, from the movie Rudy, is a perfect example.
100%, yes. It's a great movie, by the way. Great sports movie.
Yeah, and I tell students all the time, he had it. He had the desire more than any athlete that I've ever, seen come through, but he had challenges. And as long as you know that that's going to be a challenge, okay. But here's the thing. If you focus on the balance of your academia and your sport, you will have the best of both worlds. If you say I'm too tired because I had a morning and an afternoon workout, and you're blaming that to counteract your grades, I'm sorry, that's just not going to cut it.
Nope.
Colleges are not going to allow that because somebody else is going to do both well.
Yes.
So you have to be, you can't, there's no excuses. There's just no excuse. You have to be of the mindset that I have to do well academically because 2% will be of the skill level to get the full ride offer. Well, that leaves 98% of us
Correct.
that need to do it differently.
Right.
Which means you should balance. If you need a tutor, that tutor's got to come before that pitching coach.
Sorry.
Otherwise, your GPA is not going to be there, and colleges aren't going to want a low GPA, pretty decent athlete. They're going to want the high GPA, pretty decent athlete.
Yeah. I mean, you was talking about being a catcher, and I too, I caught in high school. I didn't make it to college or anything like that. But yeah, sometimes the person wins the genetic lottery, where they're just gifted and they have all the tools to do it. But I always said I would never let nobody outwork me. So like you said, you have to do just a little bit more work to catch up to that person who has, quote unquote, won the genetic lottery, man. I'm just 5'11" myself. So I wasn't going to play center with the Knicks. So what do you think about two-star athletes and how they navigate through this? And
what do you mean by two-star?
Not two-star, excuse me, a person that plays two sports.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, two sports. Have you ever had that? And what do you recommend to the parents and the student?
So it's an interesting thing. Back in my generation, it was very common. But there were some students who played three. We weren't locked in from elementary school. Now your student is locking in to their sport as young as elementary school. And the downside of that is their body is not ready for that type of commitment. And so what we're seeing is if they're not doing cross training in their off season, if they're just playing their sport all year around, we're seeing massive injuries like shoulder or knee. Or my son is an orthopedic surgeon, and so he talks a lot about the kids that he works on are all single sport athletes who play all year around. And so he said there's a price to be paid if you are not cross training and doing something different. But here's the thing, at some high schools, especially small private high schools, they don't have enough students to have just a single sport. So they're going to ask their football players to also play baseball and, right, basketball or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the opportunity is there. Is it bad? No, it's not bad. Is it hard to be a full ride player? For sure. Because you're competing with somebody who's doing it all year round, and that is their single focus. So it really comes down to, what is it that you want? Do you want to play as a professional baseball player? I was just at the World Series, the game that went 19 innings. Yes, I was at that one. And I will tell you, I mean, my heart went out to that catcher. Everybody was talking about the pitchers as they're bringing them in. And I'm like, well, what about the catcher?
Cal Raleigh, yeah, me and you caught, so we understand. Yeah. He caught all 19 innings. Yes, he did.
The whole thing. Nobody was talking about he needs a little relief. That's the single sport athlete. That's the one who is just going to grind through it, and he didn't have any relief. Is it bad? No, it's not bad. Was it really, really hard? Yes, it was. That's what we're talking. It's not that it's good or bad. It's what is best for your child.
Right.
Because not everybody could have caught 19 innings.
No.
and did caught them well. They could have caught, but not caught them well. And so around me, I was talking about the catcher, and everybody's like, what are you even talking about the catcher for? I'm like, he's the real champ here. Like,
Right.
and so I was debating that in the stands of the Dodger Stadium, you know? And so I want parents to really be thinking, one, mentally, does their child have the affirmations, the tenacity to be a one sport athlete? Or would they benefit from having a break from one grind and having some fun at the other? There's also some students who are equally great and gifted at two sports.
Yes.
And that's a really quality problem.
Yes.
It's a quality problem. When that happens, I tell the student, where are you having the most fun? Where are you really feeling that you've been called?
To do.
Because at the end of the day, it should be fun.
I agree. We talk about on this show all the time about how we think students just play, kids just playing one sport. You know, like when we was coming up, I played it all in high school. I played football and baseball. Because I think they both use, like you said, they use different muscles in your body and things of that nature, and it just gives you more perspective. And I think you can become more athletic when you're playing multi sports, like how we did when we was growing up. But now, like you said, they're specialized in the 4th grade. You know what I'm saying? You talked about injuries. Your son's an orthopedic surgeon. You know, the kids are playing travel ball, and they shouldn't be throwing curveballs in the 6th grade, but they are. You know what I'm saying? So they got to go see your son with a rotator cuff problems at 12, which is crazy. So I don't know. So yeah, you got to decide on what you really want to do and what's your passion. What are you really called to do? Let's talk about debunking myths of what's some of the biggest myths about college admissions and debt that you like to debunk right now? What do you think?
So the first thing is, one, your child cannot take a loan out by themselves. If you fell out of your chair, just know I hear this more times than not. I'm just going to leave this up to my 17-year-old, and they'll figure it out. That's a huge problem.
Right.
They have no idea how much $400,000 is. Like, not a concept. And so it's important for the family to realize that they have no collateral. So the parent or a cosigner adult is going to have to cosign. Even if your child passes, you still owe that debt. You cannot bankrupt it. So take it very serious. The second thing is, your high school is not doing this for your child. Ask your child, how many times have they seen their high school counselor? Ask them that question. And unless it's them getting in trouble, it's probably close to 0. So we think as parents, that's what the high school should be doing, but they should also be teaching financial literacy, and they should also be teaching art and wood shop and motor and all of the other important skills, and they're not. So I just want you, again, I'm not trying to be negative, but please don't think that they're doing this and count on them to do this for your child. So what can you do is help your child. They have no idea where to start. I have 2 best-selling books. If you go on Amazon, they're on for 99 cents for your listeners. So Kevin, 99-cent investment to figuring this out is so important. Go to Amazon, type in Shellee Howard. Both the books there are there for your listeners.
The link will be in, excuse me, Shellee, the links will be in the description, by the way. So
so it's all about resources. I have webinars every other week where I don't charge anybody anything, and I give just like I do right now. I've been on 67 podcasts this year because my mission is to help families understand that this takes a village.
yes.
This young person has no concept of what they need to do, especially as a scholar athlete, because they're applying as a scholar and as an athlete. So it's like applying to college twice. And it is incredibly hard. They don't know how to put together a reel or a stat sheet. They don't know how to get activities, honors, and awards. They don't know how to write the right essay. They don't even know how to pick the right college. So if you didn't go to college, please know there's no shame, but just get resources for your child. That's all. That's where all of the problem lies, is the parent just kind of shrinks back and feels like, I don't know how to help them, so they're on their own. And that's a scary thing. That's like having them raise themselves on their own, and it doesn't always turn out very well.
Which could lead to some bad financial decisions, of course, like you said, with the student loans and unfortunately taking things as you just taking courses or taking career classes that's really not going to have a return on the investment, and that's part of the problem. Some young people are mad now because they took a major that really wasn't to par. So,
Right.
what's the perfect college application roadmap for a teenager starting in the ninth grade today? If you could design it, what would it look like?
Well, first I'd have them start in 7th grade.
Okay.
So, so back in the day, we would start in the junior year. That would be in 11th grade.
Mhm.
And that was like 40 years ago. So I just kind of want to bring parents up to speed. If that was you, that was great. My kids call it the cave woman days. And at that time, we started talking about college the junior year. Then when 20 years ago, they started really looking at it in 9th grade and thinking, okay, I need a little bit more runway. I need a little bit more time to put together my strategy. Well, now come 2025, almost 26, and the situation is they need a much longer runway, because the thing that's changed is they're being forced to pick a major when they're a freshman in college. That's when they're 18 years old. They're being forced to decide what they want to do for a career. And if you haven't been talking about it for 4 years or 6 years, that child's going to be a deer in headlights. They're going to have no idea, and they're going to apply and just kind of randomly pick. And that's never a good strategy.
No, not at that age. You really don't know what's going on. You think you might know. I remember I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. And no, you don't know everything. So it's very important for the parents to be involved. Like you said, Shellee, use your resources that you have, ladies and gentlemen. Use your resources. Use people that have been through the process, and you call them Miss Shellee Howard. People that can help you out. People who know what they're doing. Yes, this can be a very daunting and very, how can I say, scary process. But man, on the other side, if it's done correctly, and I know you have seen a lot of successful stories, it really makes you glad with joy. Has any students come back to you and said thank you? Or, I mean, I know they have, but anything that sticks out that you thought, a special story?
Oh gosh, there's so many of them. But the one at the top of my mind, I had a mom of a student reach out to me 2 weeks ago. And she said, I'd like to come on one of your webinars and I talk about what it was like having you on my team. And I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, well, how is your son? And she goes, he just graduated from Stanford debt free. And he is now going on to medical school because he has no debt. Thank you. And I thought, wow, that is so huge. And so in December 11th, I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but you can even go to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be interviewing that mom and that student, and to talk about what it was like going through the admissions process, and getting the right resources and having the right support. And we're going to talk about what that looks like from a parent's perspective. And so I encourage, go to my website and get on my resource list. There's so much free stuff that I love to give away. I could go on and on, but I just think it's important to realize you don't have to do this alone. It wasn't intended to be done alone. And just make sure that you're seeking support, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Mm. Like we said earlier, it takes a village, and you are absolutely 67. Is this 67? You said we're 67.
You're 67.
So shout out to the Sports Chasers. We're number 67 on her campaign to make sure everybody knows what to do when it comes to the college admission, especially for the student athlete, and how you spun that angle with us. And this has been really, really great. Let me give you a round of applause for Miss Shellee Howard. Hold on one second. There you go. Like I said, her links will be all in the YouTube description, your website. What's the name of your books again, Shellee?
So my first bestseller is called How to Send Your Student to College Without Losing Your Mind or Your Money. It always gets a good laugh.
Yes.
And the second one is called The College Admissions Plan Simplified. And it's what you asked for, the roadmap from middle school all the way through step by step, all the way through the process with a timeline and a time frame. So it's the foundation of building that academic strategy.
There you go. You want to make sure you have some kind of roadmap, and like you said, some kind of strategy to do it. But Shellee, thank you so much. I'm going to let you have the last words before we get on out of here. Your last words before we get on out of here. What do you have?
Parents, your student needs you. They may not act like it. They may think that they know it all. They may think they're too cool. I will let you know I've raised 4 of my own, and they all now have adulted, all graduated college without debt, and they have come to me time and time again. I'm sorry for how naughty I was. Thank you so much for all the effort you put into me. So parents, it'll be worth it on the flip side. Just hang in there.
Just hang in there. Listen, man, this has been very good. Miss Shellee, we probably going to have you back again. Maybe do this once a year just to refresh everybody's mind on the college and on the college and the sports thing, because I think this is very important. Finances is important. Finances is definitely important. I think a lot of young people sometimes are not educated financially, and that's very important. I absolutely have found a passion for that probably a couple of years ago. So I try to empower people, not only with sports, I love sports and everything, but finances is everything. Learning about finances and not messing yourself up in the long haul. Miss Shellee, don't go nowhere. But hey, we're going to get on out of here. And on behalf of myself, I'm Kevin Warren, the host and moderator of the Sports Chasers. Hey, be good, be great. And this is the Sports Chasers. Remember, you can catch this on our YouTube channel. It'll also be on our podcast, all podcast platforms. Make sure you give us that 5-star review when you do it. So listen, we're going to get on out of here. On behalf of myself, I'm Kevin Warren. This is the Sports Chasers podcast. Be good, be great. Hey, we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Sports Chasers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms, and connect with us on all social media channels for exclusive content and updates. We'd also love for you to join the conversation, share your thoughts, and become part of the Sports Chasers community. And remember to tune in next time for some more real sports talk. Until then, stay frosty.